Good evening, Pearl Jam community. I'm Chrissie Ferguson, content manager and staff writer at the Wishlist Foundation, and I have the great opportunity to interview the band Black Circle tonight. For those of you who don't know, Black Circle is a rock band out of Rio de Janeiro. Their debut album, Mercury, was introduced to the world in March 2020 when we actually had our first interview with the band. During the first year of COVID, Black Circle brought music to our living rooms as they performed a series of virtual benefit shows. And while many of us know Black Circle as one of the best, if not the best, Pearl Jam tribute band in the world, the band has released 2 albums of their own with a sound that hints at the influence of many of the 90s rock bands we all know too well. Tonight, I will chat about the band's newest album, Pandora, with Lenny, Sergio, Louise, and Gabriel. And the only one we're missing tonight is Nick. So welcome, guys, and thanks so much for taking the time to chat with us tonight.
Hello, good night.
Hello, Chrissie. Thanks for having us.
Hello, Chrissie. Thanks for having us.
Hey, everyone.
So give us a little bit of background on the album Pandora. Did you all contribute to the writing of this album and to the production of the record?
Hey, Chrissie. Thank you so much for having us here. Yeah, this time around we approached the album a little differently than we did with the first one. When we recorded Mercury, most of the songs they were already ideas by me and Nick, and we worked on these ideas, and the songs pretty much by the end they were not that much different than the initial idea. But with Pandora, we everyone brought new stuff. I mean, Sergio, Luis, Gabriel, me, Nick. It wasn't just me and Nick bringing new songs. Sergio wrote lyrics. Luis brought 2 songs. Gabriel helped with lyrics too, and on top of me and Nick, and I would say that we work these songs sometimes from basically from scratch, and then we build these new songs with our influences, and sometimes different influences, even though we all like grunge and Seattle. And I don't think I should be saying grunge, but but I think that the songs they sound more like Luis, they sound more like Sergio, they sound more like all of us individually, So it was a different process for sure.
And it's interesting because there's different songs I heard, and like you said, it's probably the influence of your band members, and maybe it's the bands that they loved growing up. But I could hear obviously some Eddie Vedder in some of the songs, some of his solo songs. I could hear a little bit of a Soundgarden feel in some of the songs, even a little bit of like an REM, Soul Asylum, 9 Inch Nails. There were all these like bands that I could hear, and maybe you meant to, or maybe you didn't, or maybe it was just me, but I could hear a little bit of this influence of all of my, favorite bands from the past. And I'm wondering, with everybody who contributed, like, I think it was Home Again that reminds me so much of Soundgarden. Is it Open Letter? It kind of starts out sounding like, to me, it starts out sounding a little bit like In Hiding, like Pearl Jam's In Hiding. But maybe I'm reading a little bit too much into it. So I'd love to hear, like, if any of you have any of these bands resonated with you as you were growing up, and if maybe some of their influence came through in your writing and in your the sound that you all were creating together.
It's interesting that you should say that, because I never thought of the beginning of Open Letter like In Hiding. Never thought of it that way. Yeah, it's the same key, but it never occurred to me. That is weird. But yes, I would agree with you with Home Again. It does have a Soundgarden vibe, a little bit of Pink Floyd to me, right? In the melody of the lyrics. But Yeah, I'm gonna let the guys speak a little bit.
Okay.
I'm talking too much.
Yeah, certainly we had search for some inspiration in the 90s bands, because it all resonates with all of us. So but we also try to find some inspiration in some more modern albums, like for example, last Tools album. So we all listen to some more heavier bands like Mastodon. So there are other elements that were brought to the table during Pandora. Some of them intentionally, some of others not. So that's the beauty of making an album and having a lot of good music to search for inspiration.
Yeah, did anybody else want to talk about the influence?
Yeah, to me personally, I feel like there's a lot of the bands that I was listening at the time. You know, of course, there's things that we've listened for all of our lives, but for example, at the time, me and Sergio were listening, we still are listening to a lot of Cory Wong, you know, and his sound doesn't really relate to Black Circle, but maybe that's what you said, like unintentionally, those things are inside our head while we're creating, even though we're not thinking about that. It's coming through us. So I probably relied on the bands that I was listening at the time more than the ones that I've listened for all my life, you know?
Right.
I would say that if I could compliment on that, I would say that for me, it also works like that. You know, whenever I come up with a song, I write something, it's the influence that I have, you know, the strongest one is what I'm listening to at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But as the song progresses and you add more elements, I think what was, you know, what's been stuck in your head from the past, you know, your other influences, or even when you go to the studio to record like little arrangements or vocal lines, I think the other stuff that you used to listen to, or maybe you're not listening at that time, it comes back to you. It pours out of you. So it's not intentional, but it works just fine. Because you see, you heard Soul Asylum. I've never heard any of their songs. I know they're great, but I've never heard any of their songs.
Yeah.
So maybe because they were influenced by, you know, probably one or two bands that we will listen to. So
yeah. So tell us a little bit about what it's been like, you know, to be back out with real people, not just video, you know, coming out on the screen, which we all looked so forward to seeing you guys during the pandemic when we were stuck in our homes. And we still love seeing you, Lenny, when you do your shows on Facebook Live. But it's got to be just such an incredible feeling for all of you to be back with an audience that's cheering for you. Can you all talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I can say I miss it so much. It's like, it's a nice touch when we do by the internet, because everybody has a voice there. We often could look at the chat, the people talking while we were doing our show. Sometimes it's hard to follow, of course. But being able to see the faces of everyone in front of you, and they vibing together and raising their cell phones with the lights and everything, that's there's no words for it. I simply miss it so much.
Feeling the energy.
Let me say this one thing. The craziest thing that people have told me, and the most incredible thing that people have been telling me, like since we've been back on the road, is that somehow we saved their lives during the pandemic. And I'm like, damn, I don't even know how I got myself like through this thing. Like literally, it was a really hard time, like for me, for everyone, and to have someone come come up to me and tell that like I helped them go through that period of time, it's like really amazing.
Yeah.
This is like the most emotional thing. One time I even cried with a fan, like talking about this one thing, you know?
Yeah, that's the greatest compliment
'cause
you
you're
can
a big
receive,
crier.
really. Sorry, Lenny, go ahead.
No, Luis is a big crier. He'll cry a lot. No, I'm kidding. This is insane. We're on stage, and after the show, people are looking at you from from the audience, and it's like, okay, I'm seeing the guys from TV here. It's weird because we're not the guys from TV. We're the guys that played shows all the time. But after that, we had to go through a pandemic, which was horrible. We're still going through that,
Yeah.
and we had to find a way to keep going, right? And we became the guys from the live stream to a lot of people that didn't know what we did before. And when we get to meet these people, and people would say to us, remember, I was at that show and that other show. Sometimes we can't remember, of course,
Right.
but now what we get is like, hey, remember when I commented that thing during your live stream? So it's like those people were there with us, and I would say a lot of these people didn't know us before the pandemic, and having the opportunity to be with them and to share what the pandemic was like for us as well it's a great gift, and very grateful.
Yeah, and we haven't know the total dimension of the number of people who actually watch this live through the live streams, because it's almost a year since we've been back on the road. So 10 months ago, I don't know, I can't remember. And we, of course, we played on lots of places here in Brazil, and we still see comments in our social media like Instagram of people saying, asking when we're gonna play their cities all over Brazil, because they are people that watch this live on YouTube, and they still haven't seen us live in person.
Right. So when you all are playing live, is it mostly your two albums? Or are you doing some cover songs from other bands, or what does that show consist of?
Well, we're still very much recognized as a Pearl Jam tribute band. So, of course, I would say 70% of our set list is made of Pearl Jam songs. But depending on the show and how long it is, the type of crowd, we try to add a few songs from other bands. We play Red Hot Chili Peppers, Alice in Chains, a little bit of Soundgarden as well, Silverchair, and we always make sure to play a few of our songs as well.
Mm-hmm. And I saw on an Instagram post, Lenny, like you were pulling a little bit of an old school Eddie, climbing like some scaffolding or something. I was like, what show is that?
That's basically every show I can do it.
Oh my
But
goodness.
but I don't go across the stage. I don't do that.
Yeah.
That's
Oh, that's
insane.
good. Be
I'm
careful.
41. I couldn't do that. But that's the thing. You want to see people who are very far away. You want
Right.
to see them. You want to connect to them in a way. So it started I think at one of the festivals we played, and then every time I see the structure, and I test it out before I go. So I test it out. If I think it's gonna hold me, I just go up. My wife is going crazy over it. She's like,
Oh, I'm sure.
she said the first time she saw it, she felt like, well, that's fucking awesome. And then after that, she's like, please don't do it again. Just not this time. Not this time. But yeah, I'll keep doing it. Anyway.
And Sergio, you were saying you had a pretty big crowd at the last show you all played, like 1,500.
Yeah, we played the big show in São Paulo, which was the beginning of a project of doing the self-made shows. We have some partners in this project, and we thought, well, maybe it's time to rent a place and to do everything from scratch. So we would we would come up with a name for the event. We will invite a band to play with us, to an opening act. We're gonna put posters all over the place. So it was our first try, and it was a very cool a very cool moment, because you know, São Paulo is the biggest city here in Brazil, and we are not from São Paulo. We are from Rio de Janeiro. So for us, it's kind of a victory to do this show, and to put that much of people in that venue. And we shot the show, and we recorded the audio. So we're gonna have in any time we're gonna have a pro shot and a pro audio material, so we can put the footage on YouTube, so everybody can see. And we are gonna do another try in the same place on November 25th, if I'm not wrong. So we're planning to do those shows in some big cities here in Brazil that we are coming up to play right now this year, that we haven't played before in the past, you know. So that it's some kind of midterm project for us.
That's great. Well, as I was telling you guys off screen too, you know, as far as marketing goes and getting your name out there, we just got back from a few shows, Pearl Jam shows, and we saw your flag in the audience, and people walking in the streets with it, wearing your stuff. So you definitely have the support there. It was fun seeing the flag at the shows. And we were talking also a little bit off of the screen about how exhausting the Pearl Jam tour must be, especially from what we just came back from, which was the Nashville show, the Bourbon Fest, and then the very next night was in St. Louis. And can you kind of tell fans, being in a band that has played you know, shows night after night, what that's like, so that people can really have an appreciation for that?
Okay, I'll take that one. Well, first of all, every time we're closing these shows, we try to be careful not to have 3 shows in a row, of course, not because we don't want to do it, but because it is tiring. But I gotta say to you, when we get there, it doesn't matter how tired you are. Just when you go on stage, it's like you feel the energy, and you know those 2.5 hours are going to be great. So, but it is. I think I'm sure it's tiring. That's tiring for everyone in the band. In my case, especially, it's with the voice. So we have to kind of balance the set list, as I told you before, in order not to to ruin the voice after the second show. But it doesn't mean that the third show is going to have we're going to put in less energy than we did in the first. So the last show is going to be we're going to give our best, just like we did with the first. But it is tiring to play 3 shows in a row, 3 nights in a row, for sure.
So what do you guys have on the horizon? Sergio, you said you have something coming up in November, but is there anything else that we can look forward to with Black Circle that might be coming out maybe on Facebook, or maybe it's a show that, are you all going to look into playing the States anytime soon?
Hey, Luis, do your job, man.
I was hoping you were gonna say anything. So yeah, there's a few things.
Okay.
We're finally releasing Pandora on all platforms. That's one.
Nice.
And we got a new festival that we're trying to create and make it grow. to bring bands together, to bring bands that are related to the grunge movement, related to the 90s, you know, somehow. And we're trying to make it grow enough so we can make one edition on each capital here in Brazil. And we're going to Peru at the end of the year to play 2 shows. That's going to be really fucking amazing. I've never been to Peru. What else? Yeah, we're working on going to the US at some point. I can't really say anything right now, but it's in the works.
Nice.
You know, it's in the works. Yeah. And we're hoping for that for sure.
Yeah, you'll have a lot of fans who will be looking forward to that as well. So
We
where
also have
can-
a song coming up, right? We have a song
Oh.
coming on Spotify soon. Right? Am I right, guys? Should I have not said that?
No. We got the album, and of course another song first before
Another
the album.
single
comes
before
out.
the album.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, next Monday. Puzzle. It's the name of the song.
okay, great. So where can we get, has the vinyl come out for Pandora yet? Because I know
Not this
most,
time. Not
most
this time,
bands are on
unfortunately.
back order right now because of production and everything. So
Yeah, it's crazy. You can't produce any vinyl like in less than 6 months. Like the factories are taking a long time. So yeah, maybe in the future, but it's a lot for us to deal with as an indie band. You know, it's still the 5 of us, you know, doing everything. So yeah,
Right.
we would love to have that at some point.
but there is a website where we can get music and other merch and things like that, isn't there?
Yeah, we're working on fixing the website because we had some problems recently.
Okay.
But we're gonna put the site again on the same addresses, which were blackcirclebc.com and blackcircleband.com. You can try both. But if you go to the site, to the website now, and if it's not working, it's gonna be working in anytime soon because we're working on that.
Okay, great. Well,
I
and
like how
everybody,
Cesar's so happy about it. He's like smiling about it.
But you can
Uh,
y'all can also talk to us on Instagram, and we can make something happen. You know, we have friends in other places like other than Brazil. So to anyone that wants to buy some merch and is listening to this, talk to us on Instagram. Let's make this happen.
Yeah, we
we-
can ship it to them and they'll ship it to you.
Yeah, and we have albums and merchandise in the United States. So you're not gonna have to wait for the shipping overseas.
okay, great. That's good to know. Well, thank you guys so much for your time. I'm really looking forward to seeing you all play in person one of these days. And we'll look forward to that single coming out and your website being up so we can check everything out. So
Oh, that was too fast, Chrissie.
sorry. Thank you guys so much. And I'm sure I'll be talking to you soon.
Thanks for the opportunity.
For
Thank
sure,
you.
Chrissie. Thanks a lot.
Thank
Thank
you.
Yeah.
you, Chrissie.
Thanks for having us.